The live show started soon in just a second here. Good God. Get that crap off of the screen. Okay. I'm wearing my Taco Bell sweatshirt tonight. I'm not sponsored by Taco Bell. I wish I were. They could just pay me in double-decker tacos. I was so excited when they brought that back. Fun fact, I grew up behind a Taco Bell in an apartment. I wasn't like a feral Taco Bell child or anything like that. But I ate a lot of Taco Bell as a kid, so I still support. My sister actually got me this sweatshirt for, I think it was like my birthday or something. But it's rainy in San Diego. It's like Armageddon out here. So a little bit of rain. So we're just keeping it chill tonight. All right, and we'll get the show started in just a sec. So if you're just joining, skip ahead a little bit if this is like a replay for you. And we'll start in a second here. We got that. Live from a studio apartment, this is Misinformation. A bunch of Democrat former military members made a video urging current military to disobey what they called Trump's unlawful orders. Yeah, it's the biggest insurrection Democrats have orchestrated since January 6th. Yeah. Whatever happened to Ray Epps? Does anyone know? We know what happened to that guy? I'm not too sure. New York communist mayor Zohran Mamdani has called for a trans day of remembrance, as he says, to remember the bright and courageous trans people whose lives were stolen by hatred. Yeah. Of course, the number one cause of hatred against trans people, themselves. Some jokes are what you might call funny, and others I write just to kind of make a point. So yeah. A Democratic staffer was apparently, she made up a story that she was bound and gagged by Trump supporters. And turns out it was totally fake. And they're calling her Hussy Smokette. That's her nickname now. Yeah. And when she heard about this story, Olivia Newsy said, where are these Trump supporters again? You said she was bound and gagged? Just wanted to do a profile on them, that's all. Okay, what else we got here? Let's go to the news. We'll try to make it a quick one tonight. This is just what X opened to. I haven't been staring at this video for hours or anything like that in a Taco Bell sweatshirt. This is, I hate AI stuff, first of all. But this is kind of funny. The only thing this made me think is she really just should have stayed a bartender. You know, she could have been a bartender, a little communist bartender in New York, redistributing the drinks to people. I think she'd have had a fun time. You know, instead she's in politics. Oh well. Slow news week. Super slow news week. Let me see if... Oh, did I not save the video? Okay, well. Let's see if I can find the actual video. It's like here. Democrat... military, whoops, we'll say coup. Okay, so this is really the biggest story that's in the news right now, which is kind of funny. It just shows you how slow the news is. But once again, Democrats are engineering some news. So a couple days ago, I think it was yesterday, the day before, out of the blue, a bunch of, if you haven't heard this story, a bunch of Democrat former military members, and I guess like prominent Democrats came out and made this video where they're basically urging Trump or urging current military members to disobey Trump's what they call unlawful orders. I'll let you listen in a little bit.
This Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
We know this is hard,
and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
The craziest thing, it looks like an 80s HR training, first of all. But so they encourage current military members to not follow what they consider to be unlawful orders. They never go into what those unlawful orders are, however. They never quite mention it, right? So they sort of leave it ambiguous. There's a lot of people that think it's just like basically like a CIA op, because just the way that the video came out, the way that it's very ambiguous and they're not mentioning the kind of unlawful orders they're talking about, it seems, and it does seem to me, to be bait, right? Well, unfortunately, today Trump took the bait, which I'm not a fan of. But so Trump comes out on, I think it was Truth Social, makes some remarks about it. He says, I mean, prominently, this is the one they keep bringing up. I guess he retweeted at some point. Somebody said, "Hang them, George Washington would," and Donald Trump retweeted it, right? He comes out and says himself, "This is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up, President DJT." Which is funny. Like, that's something that his supporters, believe and want him to say. I mean, if you read this video as them actually calling for an insurrection, which arguably it is, you could say he's right in calling it seditious behavior. Again, he says seditious behavior punishable by death, right? The problem is they were very smart in the way that they phrased things, so that they're not specifically calling for insubordination amongst the military. They're calling for military members specifically to disobey any unlawful orders, which is legal, right? But that is typically for situations where, like, let's say a military member is ordered to commit some type of a war crime, right? Let's say they're sent into an area and they're ordered to kill civilians, right? The military member could lawfully disobey that order because it's a war crime, it's against the law, and they would be in the right, right? Trump's not doing anything like that. The closest, when I saw the video, the closest thing I could think of that they might be referencing would be the strikes on drug traffickers in the Caribbean, right? Which, to be fair, is arguably, I mean, it's very different, right, than something than normal U.S. policy. But if you've got people bringing in poison, right, and they're nonstop bringing in a poison that murders Americans, which is what fentanyl is, then you are very arguably on the right side of history just taking them out, right? And as far as I've heard, there's no specific way that becomes a war crime. It's not like he's killing actual just innocent civilians. He's killing drug traffickers. If the drugs weren't completely lethal and ruining our country, there would be no need to, basically declare war on the cartels, but that's what's happening. So Trump comes out, he puts out all these tweets, insinuating they're traitors, saying death. To me, totally unfortunately takes the bait. And then these Democrats who appear to be, I don't know, somehow CIA operatives or connected, I don't know, the whole thing smells fishy to me. They chime in today with just picking up and running with it. Basically, a joint statement from myself, Senator Mark Kelly, all the reps, right? "We are veterans and national security professionals who love this country, swore an oath, blah, blah, blah. What's most telling is that the president considers it punishable by death for us to restate the law. Our service members should know that we have their backs as they fulfill their oath, blah, blah, blah. But this is not about any of us." So one after another, this is one of the longer tweets, but one after another, you sort of saw Democrats come out and say, the President of the United States is calling for hanging active members of Congress. He's calling for murdering former military members, right? So in a sense, the video did exactly what they wanted it to do, which is, the Democrats chilled out a little bit after the recent spate of political violence. They stopped calling Trump Hitler for a little while, and now they're back on it, right? They seem to be right back on trying to frame him as a murderous dictator. And unfortunately, they tweeted all that stuff out. He took the bait, ran with it, and now they have the perfect little sound bites to say, oh, he called for hanging his political opponents, right? So to me, that's an L for Trump. I feel like even if he would have just ignored the stupid video, it would have been better than taking the bait and jumping in on something like this. It just seems like it's, the whole George Washington would have hanged traitors thing. It's something his supporters like to hear, but it's not, and they're not doing anything that's actually illegal by saying that they should obey the law, CNN kind of weighed in on this. They had an interesting article. So CNN was trying to determine what exactly were the illegal orders that Democrats are referencing, all right? Why Democrats are warning about Trump giving illegal orders. So I read the article. You don't have to. You're welcome. Bunch of paragraphs basically about Trump calling for his political opponents to be executed. The video itself, blah, blah, blah. Despite the title of the article, right, you would think, hey, here's the reason that Trump's orders are unlawful. Here's the specific illegal orders that Trump is ordering. They don't get into it until about halfway through the article. Let me even see if I could find it. We're not, and blah, blah, blah. Section 92 is still on about the unlawful orders. Okay, here we go. Halfway through the article, they start talking about what exactly these unlawful orders are. It's not as if this is a prospect Democrats have invented out of whole cloth. Trump has given them plenty to work with, including some things, blah, blah, mentioned in an interview. Trump has repeatedly proposed doing things with the military and otherwise that appear to be illegal. So that's an interesting way of phrasing things right out the gate, right? They don't say that Trump has done something illegal with the military or ordered the military to do something illegal. They say that he has repeatedly proposed doing things, right? So it's not what he's actually doing. It's the sort of hyperbolic ideas that he throws out there that they are considering to be these unlawful orders, which have never actually happened, all right? They go on. People who have served with him have said he suggested illegal action. Random fake source basically saying, believe me, I know he wants to do illegal things. And then they go on, Trump is certainly testing the bounds of law. The big example right now is Trump's strikes on alleged drug vessels in the Caribbean and the Pacific Ocean, strikes that have killed more than 80 people without a legal process. What legal process are you supposed to do to enemy combatants? I mean, we can all see that fentanyl's killing, is it hundreds of thousands of people in the United States? I mean, that's enough, When you're in a war with somebody, there is no due process. I think we're very much in a drug war with people right now. It's poison. CNN has reported that both the United Nations top allies consider it illegal. Of course, I'm sure they don't like him, attacking boats in international waters, So their biggest thing is exactly what I was thinking it might be referencing, which is the strikes in the Caribbean. I can't foresee any military members not taking out a fentanyl boat, but okay. Then they go on to list other things that he's done which are illegal. Okay. Here they say are some other key data points. During the 2016 campaign, Trump floated having the military torture people and kill terrorists' families, which he didn't do, obviously. This is another, Trump often obviously says hyperbolic things to kind of put his enemies on edge and to talk tough, and then obviously doesn't follow through with them. So that's imaginary. In 2020, Trump told Iran that the United States was prepared to strike Iranian cultural sites. It's just him basically blustering, right? Which he didn't do again. Trump's first Secretary of State, Rex, said publicly after his departure that Trump repeatedly tried to do illegal things. Well, you can take his word for it. somebody who left under bad circumstances, saying that their previous employer tried to do illegal things. I wonder what stopped him. In 2019, Homeland Security resigned after clashing over things she said might be illegal, but apparently they never did. So it's basically just a list of people either alleging that they heard him say things that he wanted to do were illegal, or things that he threw out in a kind of hyperbolic manner that he obviously didn't mean, never followed through with, and therefore weren't illegal because they were made from whole cloth, as the article states it, they weren't. So, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. CNN trying to defend the article. Still nothing outside of the Caribbean strikes that you can maybe argue are an illegal order. But wish Trump had not taken the bait there. Yeah, we got some, just back to the Mamdani tweet here, he calls for just odd stuff from the Democrats every once in a while. I don't know why. Do we really need a trans day of remembrance? Is that something that we really need at this point? I feel like this would be relevant maybe in the 90s or something like that, or in the early 2000s when there was, maybe some form of bigotry towards trans people. I have not seen anyone act in a bigoted way towards trans people in a long, long time. And we certainly remember them. They're hard to forget. Yeah, but then somebody replying to this brings up a good point. Good news, Mayor Mamdani. Between 2015 and 2025, there have been 0 fatal hate crimes against trans-identifying people in New York, and only 11 other reported murders. The most common cause being domestic violence. So, this sort of harkens back to one of my lead jokes up front, which isn't really a joke. It makes you feel a little bit bad, but there is a sort of, I think the act of changing yourself, if you're willing to kind of change everything about yourself, especially something so fundamental as your gender, you're attempting to change that because you don't feel right in your body. That's obviously a form of real self-loathing that can stem from, right? So I'm not surprised that suicide rates amongst the trans community are much higher, and I phrased it as a joke in the beginning, but it's a little bit sad, and I don't think that in most cases going transgender is the solution to many people's problem, but just as this Twitter user points out, there haven't been recent trends of violence towards trans people from hetero people or straight people or anything like that. It's been mostly domestic violence cases. So that was interesting. We got this was the Democrat staffer referenced in the beginning. Natalie Green, I guess her name is. She was found hogtied with black zip ties at Egg Harbor Township Nature Reserve. That sounds like such a little podunk town. I don't even remember. What's interesting about this is I don't even really remember this being in the news. Do you guys? Does anyone remember this even hitting the news, really? Apparently she, I think the Trump whore thing is just writing on her stomach. But the cuts all over her shoulders and her face, apparently she went to some, it's not a tattoo artist. It's like a guy who does carvings into the body. And she paid to have him, I'm trying to see if they have a note about it. She paid to have him, carve these things into her body, right? So that it looked like she'd actually been attacked. Also that I guess she worked for New Jersey Republican rep Jeff Van Drew. I don't know, didn't get the media attention that she desired. Now she's got charges alleging that it's like a Jussie Smollett style hoax. I mean, one thing to point out, I can fix her. I'll tell you that right now. Hussy Smokette. Jeez. You didn't need to do all that, certainly, but I'll tell you what, I'd kick it with her. Just let you know that right now. I've dealt with crazier before, frankly. Most of them are kind of like that in some way, be honest. All right. We got DHS tweeting about deporting people. I thought this was an interesting tweet. Rent is too high. There are tens of millions of criminal illegals in our country. Groceries cost too much. There are tens of millions of criminal illegals in our country. There aren't enough jobs. There are tens of millions of criminal illegals in our country. Women don't feel safe walking down the street. There are tens of millions of illegal criminal aliens in our country. They go on to list all these problems. Traffic's terrible. Healthcare is too expensive. Welfare spending is through the roof. I can't afford a car. I can't afford a house. Is this hyperbolic? Yeah. I mean, I don't pin all of our country's current problems on illegal immigration, but it is interesting because they're sort of bringing up some. This is sort of a common sense thought, right? There's another guy, I forget his name, but he's Nikki Haley's son, who was on Tucker Carlson the other night, who was again talking about some really common sense ideas. Let me see if I could find him actually real quick. He's probably on my profile here. Oh, look at that, I'm live. Fun. If I click the live, do I go into some portal?
It's not.
Oh, come on. Great interview.
Different aspects to immigration that it's not.
I shouldn't have clicked it again. I fucked it up. I should not have kept clicking. I think I got it again here, though.
It's not
I wonder if it's possible.
the migration part of it, but a lot of other things that are just out of control.
Like what?
So, naturalized citizens should not be able to hold public office. Growing up here is a big part of understanding the country. We need to stop and limit the amount of foreign students that are coming into our universities. Some of them are spies, by the way, for foreign governments. But it's also just we should put our kids first.
Yes.
And we should also not allow dual citizenship, because that's the stupidest idea. You're either American or you're not. And everyone wants to make it so complicated. That's the thing that I don't like about the past generations. They're always about the rules, the process, and regulation. No, it's really simple. You're just America first. People should have their loyalty to America first. And if they can't do that, then this ain't the country for you.
That's totally right. What about serving in a foreign...
Yeah, so I totally agree with Indian Tucker Carlson here. He brings up some really good points, and they're common sense. It's sort of a call for common sense, right? Yeah, it really helps you to understand a country if you grew up in it, right? And that sort of harkens back to what they're saying in the DHS tweet. It's sort of a call for common sense. So I'm all for common sense, and I like them kind of pointing that stuff out. I like this kid too. I think everyone does. He's really well spoken. What else we got here? Some MMA news. This was an interesting interview. It's Kamaru Usman. He's talking about his knockout to Leon Edwards.
It was a clean.
It was a bad knockout. This happened a couple of years ago. Head kick. And Kamaru Usman was a beast at the time. I think he was like going on a big streak of being unbeaten in a long time. His kids were at the UFC event. Anyways, in this interview, he's talking about being a fighter and getting knocked out, okay? And how you sort of wake up, how you come to from the knockout. And if you want a good look into how traumatic it really is to be a fighter and get knocked out, listen to this interview.
Knockout, right?
No, you can't. It's when your computer shuts down, boom, and then reboots right away.
But like when you watch the fight and you watch yourself leaving the octagon.
I don't remember none of that.
When do you remember coming, like, the lights coming back on?
I was actually talking about this yesterday. It's so crazy. I'm sitting up on the stool. Obviously, the coaches are going to be there with you. And you know we're going to ask the famous question.
What happened?
What happened? What did he hit me with? What did he hit me with? And I didn't realize I'd asked it multiple times.
I asked that shit 10 times.
We get done. I stand there. They announce him as the winner. I even dap him up. And I walk out of there. Autopilot. I walk out, I'm dapping up fans on the way out. All right, I'll get them next time. Walk out all the way to the back. See family, cut the gloves off me. I'm in the tent. I'm okay. I'm there. And the UFC's like, I said, I'm okay. I'm fine. They're like, yeah, let's just go to the hospital just to scan and make sure everything's fine. I said, okay, it's just precaution. I get an ambulance. I hug my family, and then we're good. I'm going to the hospital. And the paramedic back there. They're going to ask their questions. So she's asking me questions, and I'm answering questions, and then she asked me this one question. Not only she asked me the question, I think she asked me the question twice in a row. Boom, first time. Do you know where you're at? I didn't really hear it, but I know it was the same question. She asked me again. All right, so do you know what day it is? It's almost like a competitive mode. I wanted to get the right answer out, not just get it out right. I wanted to get it out and give her more so she knows exactly that. Not only do I know the answer to that, but I'll give you more for extra credit. Do you know a date? Yeah, of course I know. It's Saturday, August something. Yeah, in Salt Lake City, Utah. UFC 270. Fuck.
And you woke up. Shut
moment.
the fuck up. That's how you woke up.
UFC 270. Oh, if they're asking me this question, no.
Shut up, Kamaro. Really?
I'm like, no.
Isn't that crazy? So what he's basically saying is, I mean, this had to have been like 25 minutes after he got knocked out, right? He's already gotten up from the knockout. He's talked to people in the ring. He's seen the end result of the fight. He's walked out the arena, dapped up fans. He's all the way in the ambulance or at the hospital, and a nurse is asking him questions about where he is. And when he goes to answer and follows the logic, that's when it clicks, oh my God, tonight I was at my big UFC fight and I just lost. So it takes him that entire 30 minutes or whatever it was to really come back to consciousness. This is why I trained MMA a little while and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I wanted to do some MMA for a little bit, but the risk of head trauma is so significant that, and unpredictable. This fight that he had was a good example. Yes, defense is good. You can use defense to block shots, to dodge. If you're good at defense, probably much less chance of getting hit, right? But there are certain things that you just can't predict, you can't defend against. A spinning elbow, timed right, how are you going to defend that? Leon Edwards, throwing across to fake him into dipping right so that he can kick him in the head. How are you going to defend against that, It's almost like fighting is like poker a bit, where it's like, yes, skill definitely matters, right? 100%. But there is a certain amount of just percentages involved and luck. And it's like, you fight long enough, you're going to get knocked out. You're going to get hit because you can't predict everything. And just something will catch you. So that's why I'm not an MMA fighter. Anyways, that's about the show for tonight. Think we'll take probably Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. I might come live stream a little bit though, so we'll see. And then I'll definitely be back Monday through Thursday next week. We're going to be adding on at some point soon a live audience show, I think on Friday nights. So that should be pretty cool. Anyways, hopefully I'll see you again later, and have a good rest of your evening.